Ah, yes. Here we are. Both both live on Twitch and on YouTube, I think, because I've been told I'm allowed to do that now. Whew. The Burn and Learn is complete. Sweet. Oh, joy, oh, bliss. Oh, that is over for another day. Although I think I'm going to have to, I think I will have to exercise tomorrow because I did skip a day this week, didn't I? Ay, ay, ay. This whole exercise thing is maddening. Maddening, I say. What do we got going here? I should see what's going on. Take that off because we don't want to be hearing me as well. Ashley, hello. Elmir, hello. Cataclysme 888, hello to you. Zahala, Brim, Eric, Wayne, Yalus, Brim. My God, we got everyone. I've said Brim twice, haven't I? Evening to you, Brim. Rebecca, Randy the Magic Man, how are you doing? And a howdy back to you. Elmer, Russell Photography, that sounds cool. Happy late Thanksgiving all the way from Ireland. Oh, I bet there's some great photos to be taken in Ireland. We don't do Thanksgiving here. We're in Canada. We do Thanksgiving. We don't do it until we've already done it. So this is the American one, and Stargate Pancake. I am a Stargate Pancake. I'm a big pudgy Stargate Pancake. That's what I am. All carbs and no trouble. I think I could. Can I check the other one as well? Like I can. Is there a way to see both of these chats at the same time? This will be interesting because this is something that I'm sure that my friend Cal. My friend Cal is not a big fan of this whole, double stream thing, I don't think. She has absolutely no power in the YouTube space. So if I do this, can I get rid of that? Yes. Okay, I can. And then I can see, oh, look, I can sort of see both now. That's kind of cool. And hello, Exy, Hero. I love it. Christian, unpronounceable. I like that. Christian, unpronounceable. It's true. Mandy jumped over here as I prefer this platform. Very good. You have a choice, it seems. You can either be on YouTube or Twitch today, as I do my Burn and Learn. I should let you know this is my Burn and Learn. This is my bit to stay alive and fit long enough to enjoy my old age with my brilliant, beautiful wife, Jane, my fabulous son, Sebastian, and, the ridiculously annoying dog, Huzzah. The Mutt Princess. God, she's driving me just crazy. Not least of all is the fact that I've got to walk her in minus God knows what every day. Yes, that weather has begun. Where's my, do I have a phone somewhere? I should have a phone somewhere. I guess I didn't bring my phone because I don't need it, but I was going to check on that. I can't see what temperature is. I can look it up though, can't I? No, I can't because I want to look at the chat and see what's going on here. Jumped over here. So Mandy prefers Twitch. I'm curious to know who prefers Twitch, who prefers YouTube. I think there's more people on YouTube than there are on Twitch. But Ablin Khan, how are you? Ablin Khan. Ablin Khan? Sounds cool. Sounds like a con. What is that? Holt fried egg. Hotel fried egg? Hotel fried egg? Good morning to you for first time chat. Whoa. Also, I know, Crazy Nut DK, it's wild, isn't it? I'm doing both. Thank you for the subscription, by the way. It's very kind of you. Big up from the UK. Hope you're all well. Thank you, Mr. Grumpy, too. So this is the Burn and Learn. Once again, I find myself reading this amazing madness and memory, the story of the discovery of prions, and it's not an area of expertise that I have because my area of expertise is pretending to be smart. But the book was recommended to me by James R. Gurney, Jim the Evo on YouTube, and he thought I would get a kick out of it, and he's totally right. It is just fascinating, and I feel like the curtain's being pulled back on the whole world of scientific discovery and research, because we're now learning about how once you've got this information, you've created this data or data, depending on where you are, what do you do with it? Who do you give it to? How do you publish it? Because where you publish it is very important. When it's published, I guess, because the reception to your data is a big part of how far that data is going to go. There's an interesting thing that he gets hooked up on, which is what to name it. And there's about like half a chapter spent on him trying to come up with the right name for this thing that became called a prion. The idea that there could be this infectious protein, for want of a better way of putting it. It's not even infectious, it's the wrong word. It's I guess we found out that it was a misfolded protein that can misfold other similar proteins and cause a sort of a knock-on effect from there. You get these holes in your brain and you can't think right, and you eventually go to a coma and die. It's horrible. And if you're an animal, it's even worse. You start scraping off your own skin, and it's just, ugh, that sounds hideous. And they thought that these different types of brain conditions could be caused by this same similar thing, that no one had been able to figure out what this so-called slow infection was that was causing all this damage. So he walks you through the process of how he narrowed down these discoveries, because it's not just enough to discover something. You have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is, in fact, that this hypothesis that you've come up with is based on science fact that can be recreated by your peers and other people in the science community. So just fascinating. So the naming concept was an interesting one, was because he wanted to call it tie together this protein. He wanted protein in the name, but his name is Prusinger. So the assumption was that this arrogant jerk has named this thing a prion because it means, Prusinger ion, or whatever he wants to call it. And so he sort of fought against that, and for a while he fought to find something else that would work. Couldn't come up with anything, and he sort of stuck to it, because the need to come up with a name that sticks to the concept as well is really important. If you name it badly, apparently he was warned, someone else would come along and rename it, and then that diminishes your impact on the discovery. There's also this paranoia, this fear that these scientists have all the time, that they're going to get gazumped, or whatever the term would be, that someone is going to suddenly use the data that they've created already to jump ahead of them and solve the problem that he spent his life trying to solve. So there's this weird, almost like sitting in the audition, waiting to see who gets the role. There's obviously much more passive, but they do all this work to try to prove this theory, and potentially someone could come along and either disprove it entirely or prove it themselves before they do. But that's the nature of the science thing. So there's a very sort of competitive edge to it that he warns against, because if you get too competitive, you tend to skip the details and just go for what works for your little worldview of the area you're specialized in. So there's just wonderful stories about these different characters and stuff. While there's a lot of horrible stories about people, there's also wonderful stories about people offering to retire early so that he could get tenure at this university where he was doing the work, and he was getting a lot of people trying to slow him down a little, or make it more difficult for him to find a comfortable position at this university. And he was lucky enough to have a friend in the faculty who offered to step down and allow him to get his position, which is just really cool as well, that there was that. You have this image of scientists as these pure research, these wonderfully intelligent, pure research types. The reality is, of course, they're humans like all of us, and they want fame and fortune in some cases, or they want to be left alone, or they just don't like someone and want to make their life as miserable as possible, as the case was a few times here. So just a fascinating book. Have to thank James R. Gurney for that again. So what do we got? What's happening? Thanksgiving, Black Friday in the U.S. Hope all is well. I heard that the Black Friday Thanksgiving stuff was a bit slow this year, I've heard. I'm assuming it's just because it's all done online now, isn't it? Do people actually line up still and try to get deals? Are there better deals if you line up in person than if you're there online? Hi in Michigan. It's been a while. Well, welcome back. World production. That sounds important, doesn't it? Hello. Master Bratak, how are you? Bratak. I should know this, shouldn't I? Has the channel points always been a ZPM chat? I believe so. Yeah, I think that was something that... Who organized that for me? I think that was Jack Jasford sorted that out for me, I think. Or maybe it was Cal, I'm not sure. Whoever it was, thank you. James R. Gurney, speak of the devil. You mentioned his name 3 times. He shows up. Gonna get scooped is the term. Gonna get scooped. Is that it? I could see that being I could see that being just absolutely terrifying, that you're doing all this work and you're basically providing the science community with all this fantastic information. What happens if someone goes, hey, what if? And then they solve it. I guess that's happened as well. Why would they try to slow him down? It sounds counterproductive. World production, there's a wonderful quote that I said yesterday about the idea that in a nutshell, that people looking to the future and looking for change or disrupting the norm of something like science have the path to the future guarded by 1,000 people trying to protect the past. And I think there's a tendency that once, if you grow up on a certain, I suppose, dogma about how science is done and what science has proved, it's got to be difficult for some young upstart, some whippersnapper showing up and saying, hey, wait a second, what if it's not an infection? What if it's a protein that can replicate itself? And everyone's like, excuse me? How the hell is a protein going to replicate itself? It's got to have DNA or RNA or some kind of nucleic acid in it in order to reproduce, because everything on the planet seems to. How is this possible? And you arrogant bastard, you must be doing something wrong, basically, so I think they're suitably protective of the stuff that's come before, because as soon as you have to throw that out, it changes a lot of the way the science is. Obviously, if it's proved without a shadow of a doubt, people will come around to it. But I think with anything, the very nature of the term disruptive in business or science or any of these things indicates that it's going to make a mess, and people don't want a mess. They want their cushy jobs, and they want things to stay the way they are, and they want to understand science the way they understand science. And there was an understanding amongst the virologists, shall we say, of the time, that viruses were responsible for this kind of behavior, and so it had to be a virus, that there must be something that this scientist Prisoner was doing that was wrong, and could prove that there was in fact some kind of a viral or bacterial or fungal or DNA related replication system that it could use. So it's just amazing stuff. I think I'm going to try and make some props with resin and 3D printing. World production, you should totally do that. I would like to do some resin printing, actually. I've got to say, the resin 3D printers just sound amazing. A hype train, my God. Of course, I've never had a hype train for a Burn&Learn before, because I've never done a Burn&Learn like this. By the way, this will not be horribly long. I just like to do my Burn&Learn. I do my exercise because I hate my exercise so much. I need to do something while I'm exercising. Otherwise, it just feels like a waste of time. I know it's not a waste of time. I know it's exercise. It's good for me, all the rest of it. Try convincing my brain that. My brain wants to be doing something else, wants to be doing something fun. I find learning fun. I find this kind of, the ability of the torture device, which is an elliptical, allows me to be exercising and at least listening. Reading's a little more difficult, I find, because the head bobbing and stuff, but I can close my eyes, I can listen to the dulcet tones of this Prion scientist and learn a whole bunch of stuff, and it's fascinating to me. I've also got another book that I'm reading, which I should share with you, actually, that I don't have the title of on me, but I think I've left my phone somewhere. Let me just double check. Yeah, I've left my phone downstairs, but I might be able to log in here and see what it's called, because it's kind of an interesting, if somewhat depressing book. It was recommended to me by a friend of mine who's a little older, and we were discussing, our golden years, what we're going to do with ourselves, and how the industry is now, and what the differences are, and how obviously as you get older there aren't the same kind of jobs as there were when you were a kid. I think in a way I think they're more fun, frankly. I think I was born to be old, and playing old is just a lot of fun for me. I feel like even my young characters, I played them kind of old anyways. McKay was certainly an old grumpy old man to some extent. But let me see if I can get in here. All right, I'm just going to get in and see if I can do a little search and find out what the name of that book is, because I'd love to share it with you, because I think it's got some really interesting stuff. Let me see. Can I see my library? I can. Look at that. Nope, my library's empty apparently. How can my library be empty? It must be a different account then for this. Oh, it's trying to log me into that wretched Canadians. I don't want your damn Canadian Audible site. I want America. America the bold. Where are we here? I think I can. I'm not going to mess with it, because I have to use a VPN in order to do that. And if I do that, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to kill this connection, and everyone's going to be like, what? That smart guy from the interwebs has screwed up our stream again. Here you go. There's that, and there's that. And let's go back to that. Let's close that. All right. Now I've got the 2 live chats going. This is kind of fun. I feel like an old spirit too. Do you, Corey? Good to know. I Nocturne, the AI McKay episode when Shepard got sent into the future. Are you going to tell me what happened in an episode I was in? Oh, yes, I see what you mean. Yes. I was 10,000 years old or whatever it was. I tell my dog not to cross border to Crazy Land. My dog does a lot of Crazy Land, I've got to say. There was some weird stuff happening this morning. I don't know what she was on about, but she was just barking and bouncing around, and I don't know what had got her so excited. Oh, Corey's talking about COVID. What else we got? Someone made ZPMs that way after the series ended and sold a few dozen of them. Yeah, there's some beautiful, beautiful ones out there. I wish I could remember the companies that did them. They might even be in here. They've shown up before. I'd love to get a really nice. What am I saying? I don't want to get one. I'd like to make one. What am I saying? I'll make my own tchotchkes. That would just be really fun to be able to maybe do a resin print of it, maybe in components that you could then glue together. It has good seams. The ZPM has good seams, so it could probably glue together some larger pieces and get a really nice size ZPM, and then put some electronics in it. Would be fun. Have it Bluetooth. A Bluetooth ZPM would be kind of fun, just as a light in the house or whatever. We'll have to connect next time. I'm at the rec. Yes, Randy the Magic Man. When are you next? Do you have another? When's your next show, Randy? Wait, are you also live streaming on YouTube? I am World Production. I'm doing both at the same time, if you can believe it. Live streaming on YouTube and on Twitch at the same time. Extraordinary, isn't it? How do I do it? Master Bratek says, I've been Googling but can't figure it out. CSG in Braille combined with C and a non-profit. Somebody help me here. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? What have you misplaced? Figured I'd cheer, miss ya from Atlantis, and SU1 is there. Any secrets or return reboots you're in the know of? 20 through 23, figured they might be in the works or talking about it. I've not heard anything. Hi, Michigan. It is a question I get literally every day. And thank you very much for whatever those little triangle-y things are. Thank you. I think those are points of some sort. I welcome your points. Thank you. And to answer your question, I've not heard anything. You're right, though. 2023, you think they'd get off their butts and figure something out. Because even if they just reboot the thing, I'm surprised they haven't done something with the franchise, given how long it's been around. And the fact that, look, there's still people showing up to watch me sweaty and gross after an exercise. So there's got to be some kind of a draw. What do we got now? Moritz says, that's how the ancients learned to make ZPMs too, on YouTube. Exactly. That's where we all figure out how to do everything. Dark magic dual streaming. What? It is. It is a dark magic. It's true. It's so funny. The first thing I think of when you say that is Magic the Gathering, which I've got to say I've been missing lately. I've got like a moratorium on Magic the Gathering because the cards have just got so expensive since Hasbro took over, and they started doing all these for collectors only. You can spend $40,000 on a box of 3 cards that has a gold powder and sparkles. And I just thought, you know what? This is not fun. It's like they're making money off of the collecting, which I know they probably are entitled to some extent, but there was something kind of fun about them just releasing their cards. And people figured out which the valuable ones, which were valuable, which weren't. I saw a really interesting article actually the other day about the value of VHS, like VHS movies, the original old movies with the poster with the proper label and cover and stuff. And apparently, some of these crazy obscure VHSs are worth like a freaking fortune. Although I will say this, I think the one error in their data analysis in the article I read was that they were getting their numbers from eBay. And the point I've seen on eBay many times is you can ask for whatever you want. You won't get it. So you can ask $1,200 for a Lady and the Tramp Disney VHS cartridge. Just the fact that if someone buys it, then it's worth that money. But you can ask for whatever you want. Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, what about it, Corey? It's fabulous. Didn't Van Diesel writes a book on Magic the Gathering or something? Didn't Vin Diesel write a book on Magic the Gathering? He didn't. Did he? Did Vin Diesel play Magic the Gathering? You know who I know did was that singer. Post Malone. Oh, Jane, you're not supposed to be listening. This is a private chat. Post Malone, who I've got to say I quite like. I saw a great video about him. They took his face and they had a Photoshop artist go in and remove all of his tattoos. He's actually quite a handsome-looking fellow without all his crazy tattoos. Doctor Who starts tomorrow. David, I hate to break the news to you, but Doctor Who started in 1940-something or 50, something along those lines. Yes, is the new Doctor Who, is that when it starts? I gotta say, I feel bad because I've just sort of stepped out of the whole Doctor Who fandom of late. Not that I don't love it as a concept. There's so many shows to watch, and I've just found, you know what it was? I think it was that the original Doctor Who that I watched were kind of like bottle shows. They were either standalone episodes. Well, they weren't standalone episodes, but they were standalone miniseries within a season. So you'd get 3 or 4 episodes or 2 or 3 episodes or whatever it was, or the entire season. And while I really loved the extended series that they would do, like the Time Crystals and some of the Gallifrey related stuff, it was really fun. But it just sort of wrapped up, and I didn't feel like you really had to know what happened before to just sort of jump in and enjoy it. I found the later Doctor Who's a lot harder just to leap into, if that makes sense. Also, I was 4 years old when I started watching Doctor Who. It's a very different Doctor Who now. And as much as I try to love it, I just don't have that same childhood wonder that I used to have. Damien despises Doctor Who? Wait a second. When did you start watching Doctor Who? When you say you despise Doctor Who, what is the Doctor Who that you have witnessed? You know? Hey, Baz, I'm trying to run a clean stream here. My son is online gaming, and thus there's an awful lot of expletives. He was homesick again today, by the way, because he somehow managed to weasel his way out of a Friday because I gave him a flu shot and a vaccine shot yesterday together. Well, I didn't give it to him. We went to get it done, but he went and got both done, and he was feeling a bit miserable, and I felt a little sorry for him, and somehow I caved. Loved it. Wow. Danny RBB loved A Dog's Breakfast. Well, that's fantastic. 3 of my favorite subjects. You, your sister, and a dog. It's a pretty good combo. It's true. It was a really, really fun film to make, I've got to say. And I often fantasize about doing another one somehow, but I'm not sure what I would do, and I'm not sure how I'd do it at this point. But all I know is I can't fall that way anymore. I remember when I was a kid watching Laurel and Hardy on tape so many times the tape became unwatchable. Yeah. I think I did that with Blade Runner. Preach. Standalone episodes are a lost art. It's true. I mean, I guess because you can't get so deep. I also think that part of the reason for these continuing episodes is that they want you to, that's how you bring in your audiences and you sort of hook your audience. For example, I don't know if anyone's been watching the Hunger Games? No, the Squid Games. The Squid Games show that they've started on Netflix. Well, I thought it was ridiculous until I started watching it. And then we got totally hooked and watched like 4 episodes in a row. So it definitely works. And I'm sure if I were to sit down and, I mean, there's a secret dream of mine would be to sit down and watch Doctor Who from beginning to end. Like literally start with the first episodes that are available, work all the way through, taking notes and becoming a massive Doctor Who nerd brain. That would be fun. Where did you found Mars the dog in A Dog's Breakfast? Mars the dog was found by my mum. My mummy came to visit, and the wretched woman found an ad for a pound nearby that was looking to have people walk dogs for them. And we thought, naive, silly Jane and I decided that we would go to the pound and maybe we'd walk the dogs for a bit or just see how we could help out. Of course, we get there. Out of the mist and fog of the horrible British Columbian weather at that time came this poor woman being dragged by this ridiculously silly-looking dog who came straight up to me and sat on my foot. Literally came in, sat on my foot, and just looked. And I was like, damn it, we have a dog. And that's basically where that dog came from. The one that we have now, I said, no, I don't want another dog. I had Mars, and Mars was perfect. And I fought, and I cried, and I screamed, and I rented clothing, and kicked and screamed, and all that stuff. And I still got dragged to the local pound where this dog basically mauled us. And I said, well, this is obviously not the dog for us. But little did I know the decision had already been made. And then next thing you know, we're walking this kangaroo home that was jumping all over the place and leaping around. And oh my God, she's just been awful ever since. Hello, Ankscene2. Anks2. First time chatting with a little doggy. That's nice. We have a little doggy chat and a little doggy, what are they called? emoticons, I guess. A Dog's Breakfast is fantastic, hilarious. You should definitely do another film. Do a horror, please, 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 pretty please. We have a horror, actually, Mandy. Except Kirsten, how are you? Thank you for your subscription. That's very kind of you. You can subscribe on Twitch. If you go to Twitch, you can actually subscribe, which is fun because it's just more money for me to buy cool things to play with. Under the guise of Tech Bandits is how it works basically. I've got a question for you all. Here's a big question for you. I was thinking about Cameo. I was thinking about doing Cameo because a lot of people have been asking about videos and stuff of late, and I feel like I just don't have the logistical skills to sort something like that out, and I feel bad because I get all these emails and I can only respond to a bunch of them, and that usual excuses. I spoke to Cal about it, about should I try to do something like that myself, because I've heard Cameo referred to as a market of sadness. It's just so horrible. But it was referred to as a market of sadness, and it just said that it was for people in my industry who haven't worked for a while, and that YouTubers and influencers and that kind of stuff should avoid it because basically all it's doing is providing you an online forum for your fans to get in touch. And I'm like, well, I have that. I got that right here. I have my own market of sadness. I am my own market of sadness. So why not? I mean, it's very cruel. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying that's what this article said, and it kind of kicked me in the yarbles a little bit about it because I was about to sign up. I thought, oh, for Christmas, you know what? People want this stuff. Fine, I'll let them deal with it. All the rest of it. But there's a part of me that just loves the idea of having my own infrastructure for this stuff. I just love the geeky side of it, and I thought maybe it'd be kind of fun to sort of figure out, is there a way to do something like that, add it to my Shopify account that does the Tech Bandit coins and stuff, and is there a way I could somehow manage that myself? But I would need the hammer, I think. I've actually offered to Cal to participate in the maybe even in the financial side of that if she'll help me out with it. But that's just a thought. Oh, LOL, I almost bought a Cameo from your sister to tell you to give in and just do it. Oh, really? Wait a sec. My sister's on it? Of course she is. It's a market of sadness. I own my sadness. And I'm willing to dole it out with a small portion of my soul. I've had 2 cameos off Paul and Joe. Oh, that's cool. Would definitely buy some cameos from you. Well, thank you, Mandy. But I guess my question is something like, what is the advantage of something like Cameo from your perspective? What does Cameo do that you can't just do on a website? Because here's the other thing is I feel a bit like I'm in a catalog. I feel the thing about Cameo is I feel like you go there, then I get distracted by 10 other people. I go like, oh my God, they're still alive or whatever. And I of course also look for like scientists and that kind of stuff. I just thought it would be kind of neat. Is there a way to set it up as our own little business? That's all. I'm not sure if Cal's even here. Is Cal here? I should talk to Cal about it again because I think it might be worth doing something. If you want to do Cameo, I think you'll need to get an assistant to sort out the stuff so you don't forget it, because often it's for birthdays and time limited. Oh, good point, Nixie. Really good point. Cal, how are you with scheduling? She's really bad at scheduling because she scheduled weirdly to go to England with her friends instead of coming to see me in France, which must have been a terrible disappointment to her because I'm sure her heart was broken that she couldn't see me. I'm a dog trainer behaviorist. I can fix that. Daniel RBB. Tell me, where are you? Are you in the city of Toronto? Because that's where I need a dog trainer. I need more than a dog trainer. I need someone with a giant farm who will take the dog and then just never return her. And I will come and visit her periodically and go like, remember we had a dog? That kind of stuff. No, I love her, and my family would kill me if I tried to get rid of her. Are you allowed to portray your McKay character in a cameo? Like, is there a copyright issue? That's a really interesting question, Gibson. I imagine you could probably get away with it to some extent, but the reality is if you're getting paid to be the character, no, you wouldn't be allowed to do it. No, because I don't own McKay. I mean, I own McKay, but I don't own it from a copyright or an IP, as they call it, the intellectual property standpoint. So no, I probably couldn't, actually. But it's not a huge difference between me and McKay in many ways. So, I tend to do a lot of, finger snapping and that kind of stuff. I've done a lot of videos for people. I just do them for free usually, but I think it would make sense to monetize it because it would help out with the Tech Bandit stuff. And frankly, I can't imagine we're going to be working before January. So it'd be nice for some Christmas presents as well. For myself. And maybe a couple for the kid. Maybe a treat for the dog. Oh, David. Oh, no. Hi, David. Hi, David. Hope you're well. Just started to get my partner into watching Stargate on season 6 and seen you twice now. Can't wait to show her Atlantis. Oh, neither can I, Vinoid. Because the Atlantis is the place to be. Although the SG ones are really fun as well. It would be like an SNL parody. Oh, I see. Yeah, I think you could do that, couldn't you? You must be able to do that. Stargate really needs to return soon. It should be the McKay story. Well, I've been pitching Stargate McKay for a very long time now. The other pitch is Stargate Academy, because I think that Stargate Academy would be the way to go. You have all the kids, all the young, hot, young things that everyone wants to see on television now. And, they could do lots of physical exercise and get sweaty and stuff and have relationships. And then it would be run by Sam Carter, because she's the perfect principal. And then I'd be the vice principal, just like Snape. I'd be like Snape in Harry Potter. That's what I'd be like. Potter? Yeah, it would just be fun. Be like a really jerky old, jaded old McKay who's not happy about being around all these young folks. Be like going back to that planet of children. 48 Hours. Well done. Yep, I remember that one. Was that the first one? Was that my first one? 48 Hours? I think it was, wasn't it? How are you, David? I'm very good, Geodatan. Hello from Barcelona. Nice to see you, too. Barcelona, my God, that would be nice right now. Is it warm there? It must be pretty hot. Wouldn't that be just the U.S. Air Force Academy? Yeah, but it would just be the Stargate portion of that. Academy would be awesome. You as the teacher. Don't you think? I'm telling you. McKay Snape. Doctor, it's it. That's it. Stargate McKay Academy. You call it whatever you need to do. With your assistant, Crazy Zelenka. That's right. Well, Zelenka would be... How would Zelenka be? Zelenka would have his own class, and I'd be constantly... I think Zelenka would need his own class. But I'd have to keep walking in or taking over his labs and stuff. That'd be kind of fun, actually. See, Kevin likes it already. Get a personalized message from Dr. Rodney McKay. Then it wouldn't be copyright. I see, because we changed the name. Very clever, very clever. Stargate School of Science and Space Travel, exactly. Just Human. The way Atlantis ended, it should be rebooted as a school. Couldn't it? See, I told you. Move the city to the dark side of the moon. Stargate Lunar Dark Academy. I like that. Although, I've got to say, as much as I loved Atlantis and being on Atlantis, it was really fun to be on Earth, too. Just from an episode standpoint, it was kind of nice to get out of the studio once in a while and wander around and see places. That would be fun. I was very, very jealous that Joe got to go to Vegas for the Vegas episode, and I got stuck in another little set. On SG1. I'm on an SG1 set. Exactly. I get to go to an SG1 set. He gets to go to Vegas. God, such a ripoff. A Renegade McKay running his own Stargate program with a gate he built. Exactly, Johnny Wednesday. I love it. Sold. Diddy Demon. Diddy Demon. I like that. It's a good name. On Earth or a mixed species cast. I think mixed species is always way more fun, personally. So much hidden in plain sight in the Stargate show. It's true. If you look carefully, you'll see people shaking the trees and stuff during storms. All right. What else we got? I'm gonna check the other chat now. Let's have a look at the Twitch chat now. Oh, look at that. Destin Heretic, thank you for your subscription. You can use your Prime subscription. Very smart. Thank you. Cal's already thanked you, it seems. Cal doesn't believe that I got a handle on this. She doesn't think that I've got my finger on the pulse of internet streaming, but yeah, I do. Cal, we're gonna do some cameo stuff. We're gonna figure this thing out. Is it possible before Christmas to do that, do you think? I think it might be the way to go. Slayer Darth, hello to you, first-time chatter. First-time chatter. Ordinary filmmaker, can you give us a few seconds of McKay? You're getting it now. What else? What do you want? I'll say no, and everyone will go like, well, that's McKay. Saying, yeah, you want McKay? Watch a Stargate. There you go. That's McKay right there. Shaking the trees during storms. That's news. Oh, Kevin, there's one. I can't remember what episode it was, but there's. I think it was during the storm in the eye. If you look carefully, you can actually see someone shaking a tree somewhere in the background. End of December, I will work on the real-size Stargate of the Children of MacGyver. Come to see us on Twitch, David. I'm there. 2084. Do it. Bring it on. I'm there. What else we got? Mariette is nice next to Planet Hollywood Quitter. Nope, don't know what that means. The Twitchers. David, I hate that Vegas episode. Oh, really? I guess what's funny about the Vegas episode is probably the closest thing we got to universe. Like it was like the coolest, hippest one. I have to ask Cooper about that because Coop did that one. Coop got into directing near the end there, like doing fancy stuff. I think he blew all of our budget on his episodes. He had so much fun on his episodes, and who's going to say no to him? He's like the guy, he's the Stargate guy. So, I think he had a lot of fun with that. What is Tech Bandits? Says Slayer Darth. Tech Bandits. Tech Bandits is what I should really be streaming instead of this. But I've just been doing it recently. I've been doing it at the community center. I'm hoping to do some more of those. And it's just a club for kids. The idea is just to get them excited about stuff. I don't teach. There's no teaching involved. It's just trying to figure out ways of showing them that learning stuff can actually be interesting as opposed to horror, boring school stuff. Because, I'm a high school dropout. That's the weird irony is I play geniuses on television, but I'm a high school dropout who just hated every aspect of school. I just hated school. Oh, except for my friends. My friends and I made movies, so that was fun. But school just, I feel like it just crushes the curiosity and the excitement that kids have about learning because it just gets mashed down into these, squished into the right shape that makes it easy for people to mark and to standardize tests and all that kind of stuff. And the reality is I never equated the stuff that I was doing in my spare time as learning. I just thought I was breaking things and inventing things and playing. But the reality is if someone had seen that and made that connection for me, which wasn't until many, many years later, my friend John Mighton was the one who basically made the connection for me between the fact that made the connection for me that you could be both a science fan and an artist, that it wasn't one or the other, that just because you were an artist didn't mean you weren't any good at science or that your contributions or your interest in it was not of any use. So it was pretty interesting. Yes, teaching the tests, exactly, except Kirsten, for sure. Formal education is just that, too rigid. Look, it works for some people, and some, I'm not going to, the fact that we have a public education system, absolutely fantastic, wonderful. My kid's in public education. I prefer him there. I don't like the idea that you have to pay more to have your kids in some, precious child in some private school. But the reality is that's how I grew up, and it was a disaster for me. I hated it. Still hated it. Didn't matter how much money my parents spent on school. I was just not interested. So I guess what my frustration with the educational system for me is that there's still such an element of luck and privilege to this stuff, right? So you're in a good neighborhood, you generally have a good school, but even in a good school, you can have a bad teacher. So I just don't feel like our kids' education should be left up to luck. Like if you fluke into a good teacher, you get a good education. There should be a system in place that allows anyone we hire to do a great job of educating our kids. I don't understand why there are bad teachers and that they're allowed to remain in their jobs. It's not like you don't have someone on a factory line that's really bad at screwing their bolts in. And so the cars just always have, you never know when if he's been screwing the wrong parts in and the car falls apart. That's just the luck of the draw, I guess. No, our education, and I'm not saying our education should be in a kind of a factory setting, but I still feel like there should be some way of determining that a teacher has the skills and the passion and the personality to be able to educate the kids that they're looking after in whatever subjects they're supposed to be. And I know there's a shortage of teachers, and I know that it's not necessarily all the teachers' faults, but at the same time, I just don't feel it should be something that's left up to luck. It really, really bothers me. My son has two of his favorite classes. I'm not going to name them, but they're two of his favorite classes. He's working damn hard to get the marks he's getting in those classes. I would have given up long ago. I'm really proud of him for continuing. He's got a crap teacher by the sound of it. Like a really terrible teacher. And unfortunately, they are the same teacher for two of these classes. He can't change. He's tried to move things around. He just can't do it. There's just not enough. There's already 30 kids or whatever it is in the class. So he just has to plow on. In fact, he talked to one of the kids who's getting really good marks in these classes. And they said, yeah, I just ignore everything she says and I just go on YouTube and look up the subject. And then I do really well on her tests. Because apparently the way it's being taught to them in the school is incredibly inaccurate. Not inaccurate. Is incredibly unintuitive and uninspiring, shall we say. And I've been there. I've had teachers. I mean, I had a teacher who got me interested in history, and I hated history. He used to sit us down and show us war movies and discuss the historical aspects of it, and just like a big movie buff who used movies to make history exciting, and it was just really smart. And I also had other teachers who, I remember specifically a science teacher I had, I think it was grade 8, and this is when it fell apart for me. I was doing electronics at home, I was doing computer stuff at home, I was finding old television sets and pulling them apart and trying to build other things and electrocuting myself and just having a grand old time. I had a model train set that I was playing with the electrics for that and switches and stuff. Just I think, in my element with this stuff. And I got in to grade 8 science, and I was so excited because grade 8 science was when we started doing electronics. And first class, I get in there, and it was turn to page whatever and read it. And I start reading it, and I'm like, I'm like, excuse me, when do we do the electronics? And they're like, oh, we're not doing electronics. We don't have time. There's not it's not long enough. We're just going to cover this, this, and this. And that was it. I was out. I was done. I was like, what? That's the one thing I was interested in. And I just keep thinking, like, I feel like there should have been a way of going like, oh, this kid really wants to do electronics. I said, well, they could say like, well, David, maybe you could do your project on electronics instead of whatever the chemistry stuff is that we were doing, or as a part of it. Or I just feel like that could have been followed up on. And I'm not saying I was very lucky. I had people who followed up on the acting side of stuff and realized I was terrible at everything else and that I should probably be an actor. Not that I should be an actor, but that I should be acting. And I really enjoyed acting. I also had friends who made films, so there was a wonderful opportunities there. But it really makes me nervous to think of all the people slipping through the cracks who don't have that. I mean, I was a privileged little kid. Like, I as I say, my dad spent a lot of money sending me to school that I did not do the work at. And yet I would say it was worth every penny because I met the friends that I still make films with to this day. I mean, I worked with Vincenzo on Cabinet of Curiosities. Well, we went to high school together. We were like 13, 14 years old when we met. And we were making movies from the moment we our first summer vacation together is all we did was make movies with our friends. It was absolutely fabulous. And that, to me, but that was an education. And I think that's what was missing, is I didn't see that as part of my education. I saw that as my downtime. That was my free time that I did that stuff with. And we were all lucky to some extent that the school we were at was run by a bunch of hippies, who had the understanding that we were doing something. We were going out there and exerting ourselves and making movies with our own money and our own time and working hard towards this stuff. So they were understanding to a lot of that. In fact, they were, I think, almost understanding to a fault with me, because I started doing some plays and stuff and just stopped doing homework. And they're like, well, I guess you are working on these plays and things, but I just couldn't see the need to continue with that stuff. So, what are we saying? Well, he's not talking about SG at the moment. I'm so sorry, Alex. I had a math teacher slam ruler on my desk. He turned his back. I slapped him on his bald spot. Grade 6. Holy cow. My class made the teacher retire. Well, if he's hitting people with, I got hit with a ruler. It was one of the priests that ran the school. He unleashed a ruler on my hand, and oh my God, it hurt so much. But it hurt so much that I laughed, and I remember his face got all red, and he just did it again because he was so angry. Best time I ever had in school was when we were living like the Iron Age for history. Oh, really? That's really cool. Really enjoyed making a spear from nothing as a kid. Remember, it took forever to hammer out the iron. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. This is it. Katie Sackhoff is excellent, by the way. Katie Sackhoff and I actually lived on the same street in Point Robert while she was shooting, I think she was shooting Battlestar and I was shooting Stargate at the same time. And she lived like 4 or 5 doors down. It was hilarious. We were like Sci-Fi Row. I just saw the post-credit scene from Rise of the Planet of the Apes when Douglas Hunsucker goes to the airport What do you think happened to him after the scene? I think he sided with the apes. That's what I think. I think he survived, and he's actually the secret leader of the apes, and we'll find out in one of the new movies. Tenure and teacher unions are the reason. Somewhat. Yes, I would agree. I don't understand a job that you can't get rid of someone who's doing a bad job. I don't understand it. I'm sorry. I know there is a place for unions, but I don't understand how you can not fire someone if they suck at their job. I think that's a part of the problem. I think the other part of the problem is societal. Like, I feel like there's a certain sense of failure to teaching, that somehow you want to do other things, but you end up falling into teaching. I mean, that's not for everyone, but I think there's definitely a sense of that with some people where they're just, this is great. This will pay the bills, that kind of thing. And I think that we want to weed those people out, because I think we need people who are passionate and excited and want their kids to succeed. And I'm sure that a lot of these people do want their kids to succeed. They just don't have they're just not equipped to handle it properly. But again, that would be part of the training, right? I mean, I feel like if we have a system in place that allowed teachers to be better at their jobs, then we'd have better teachers. I mean, that's, not all of them. I still think we need to weed out the ones that aren't good. I was appalled at some of the teachers that Baz has had over the years, and that I've had over the years, and that everyone's had. I mean, this is the funny thing, is no one gets universally excellent teachers. I will say there are certain types of people who are designed for school, who are just very, very good at the system. They understand how it works. They understand what they have to do. They're willing to do it. They have that attention span. I think for me, a lot of the issues were just that I didn't have the interest. I had something else that I wanted to do, which was acting. I just wanted to be a movie star. That's all I wanted to be. That's all I wanted to do. And as I get older, I realize that while that's worked out very well for me, obviously, as I sit on the top floor of my house, I mean, the house that Stargate built. I mean, I know that it's worked out very well for me. But at the same time, I wish that there had been more of the science and maths pushed on me, or at least, not pushed on me is the wrong term. I wish I'd been inspired into the maths and the sciences in the same way that I was inspired into the arts. I think it was easy for people to go like, oh, he should be an actor. I think it just made sense. I was a goof. I was a clown, and still am. And I wish that someone had explained to me that what I was doing in my spare time was science. It was education. I've always loved learning. It seems bizarre to me, and bizarre to most of the people who know me, that I didn't like school, because I love learning. I've always loved learning. I just hate formal learning. There also maybe just a part of me just doesn't like being told what to do. I mean, that may be part of it too. Smash the like, says Geo Datan. Do you smash the like in Twitch or in YouTube? One of the two. How long have I been prattling on for? Oh my God, almost an hour. This is crazy. Okay, so I'm all sweaty and gross. I should probably have a shower. My poor family. My wife is going to England tomorrow. She's leaving me once again. Any opportunity she gets to leave, she does. And she's going to some kind of a TV festival in England. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but she'll see her friends and everything as well. So she loves, like, London is her. That's. I think if she had her way, she'd probably just be living in London again. I'll be out in Warwickshire with my cows and pigs and tractors. I just added cows. I'm not sure they want cows. I got cows across the fence. I think someone else can handle the cows. I'll just do the pig and the tractor, and then she'll be living it up in London. That's probably what's going to happen. The problem with schools, oh boy, there's stuff going on here. The problem with schools is not the learning aspect. It's what they teach you. Learn about the headline to a newspaper in 1342, or made this crappy pot in art class. But what you don't know is how to start your own business, getting mortgage, pay your taxes, and other useful life shit. No, it's a good point. I mean, they're pushing more for that of late. But again, there's no point in teaching kids anything if the kids don't want to learn, if they're not interested. And my big thing and my hope with Tech Bandits, and just my general approach to this stuff, is that we can just find things to get a kid excited about something. Because once a kid is excited, they're going to go down that rabbit hole into the internet, into the YouTube, into the collective knowledge of the human race that exists. Because that's what I saw with these really high-performing science fair kids, when I did interviews with the Canadian-wide science fair kids, I'd go around and I'd ask them how they got into this stuff. All of them said YouTube. All of them. Like I honestly can't think of anyone who didn't say it wasn't that it was something related to anything other than what they'd seen on a YouTube video. This is what inspired them. They saw a video about something and they went, "Oh, that's really cool," and then they followed it up. I think there were a few things that were related to a condition in someone in the family. That's true. There were a few things about either an illness in the family or a procedure that their parents were involved in, or they were in agriculture, their parents were farmers, that kind of stuff. So definitely inspired by their environment as well. But where did they find the information that they needed to succeed and to get what they got with these science fair projects? All of it YouTube. And that was where it's sort of cemented in my mind that all we need to do is get the kids excited. Once you get the kids excited, they will do the research if they want to. And you get them excited enough, they'll do the research. So that's the hope anyways. I mean, we'll see if it works or not. Statistically, most of what makes kids successful in school is what's happening in the home. If you only look at school factors, it's the teacher, then the principal. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it's true. And the principal obviously running the whole thing makes a big part of it as well. The thing about it is I've seen really good principals do a great job of running a school. There's still bad teachers in it. There's still problem teachers in there. Yes, of course, home life makes a huge difference to a lot of this stuff. But I still think that if you can find those moments of inspiration, if a teacher can find those moments and just set the kid off on the right track, I think that would just go so far, so far. I think that part of the problem is, as Elizabeth's saying here, there's a teacher shortage. You can't be picky. I think you can be picky, Elizabeth, though. That's my problem. This is what really frustrates me about it, is that you can't be picky because there aren't enough teachers. We need to change the system then. If there aren't enough teachers, then we need to change the system. And we certainly can't go like, oh, well, at least we've got enough teachers, even if some of them are total crap. I think it's, my concern with education is that I'm worried about grade 4 while my kid's in grade 4. I'm worried about grade 5 while my kid's in grade 5. Once you've passed those grades, they get left behind and you worry about the future. And so as a result, nothing ever changes because your kid's not going back to grade 4, unless you're me, then you go back to grade 4. But if your kid's not going to go through those problems again, so there's no impetus to change those problems as those years progress. This is the nature of my complaining way, is that in my grumpy approach, is that I want it to change. Like, I really want it to change. I don't think that continuing the way it's going right now is working. I just don't. I don't see it ever changing. Certainly in this country, I don't see it ever changing. Not with a union stranglehold on whether we can fire people or not, and not without a training system that weeds out the good teachers. Like, let's get the good teachers. Let's pick those out of the bunch and put them in the funnel. I mean, or come up with systems that allow them to teach more kids if that's necessary, or come up with some kind of online learning system or something that allows us to make this efficient and effective, not just efficient to the point where the bureaucrats can count a bunch of multiple choice tests and say, yep, we've done our bare minimum job of what's required there. So that's it. There are enough teachers, but they're not teaching because the teaching conditions are so bad. Well, there you go. So then there needs to be more money let's face it, there needs to be more money in education anyways. It's always the first thing to cut when the government talks about making any kind of cuts. It's never to their salaries. It's always to education and healthcare here anyways. And that's my frustration. I think there needs to be, ideally, there's much more parent involvement. I think that'd be fantastic. But even that gets frustrating as well because, we've got, there's parents who don't believe in vaccines. There's parents who believe crazy conspiracy theories. There's parents who want religion in their kids' science. And I just think I'd be curious to know what systems turn out the best teachers. That would be fascinating to see. And I guess it would be hard you'd have to identify what does best teacher mean, I guess. But it would be interesting to figure out if there was a way of sort of quantifying how good a teacher was and what system they've been taught on. Anyways, I'm babbling on. I am low blood sugar and freezing cold. So I'm gonna, not as freezing as I could be. I'll James more money take. What? I'll take more money. But David, if we paid teachers more, police officers wouldn't be able to afford armored personnel carriers. Thank you, Saucefire. The union argument is ridiculous. You can fire teachers, but it has to be for cause. If admins are blaming the union, it's because they're not doing their job. Unions are really important for ensuring good learning conditions for kids. We've had this discussion before, Elizabeth, but it's my concern is this. What is required to get rid of a teacher? You can't get rid of a teacher because they're a bad teacher. That's impossible to prove in this system as far as I can see. It has to be some kind of a criminal act of some sort for a teacher to be even, removed from their position for a while. It seems far too difficult for me for that. And as far as I'm concerned, yes, money is absolutely an issue. There should be tons and tons of money, and teachers should make a freaking fortune. They should be the rock stars of our civilization, and it should be incredibly freaking competitive, and it needs to be a job that everyone wants to have. I mean, that would solve a lot of it. It's incredibly competitive. It's very hard to become a teacher. You work really hard, and then you get paid exceptionally well, as you should be, because you're literally training the future for us. So that's my take on that. But I mean, Elizabeth knows more about this stuff. I mean, Elizabeth actually works in with these industries. So states with stronger unions will have much better educational outcomes. Yes, you can get rid of them because they are bad teachers. You have to document it. That's interesting. I mean, who documents it then? The school? Who's keeping tabs on this thing? Because like I say, you've had a bad teacher for a year, you move on to the next grade. Those parents are not going back to try to get rid of those teachers, right? You can get rid of teachers because they're not good at their jobs. You just have to document it and try to improve them first. Really? I don't know. That's not the sense that I get. But I'd love to. Is there paperwork on this, Elizabeth? Where do you find this? Like, where do you find? Okay, is there a way to find out what is the procedure for getting rid of a teacher? Like, if there's a bad teacher who's just not good at their job, the kids are struggling, how do you get rid of that teacher? What is the process to get rid of that teacher? But here's the other problem is the time it would take to get rid of the teacher, you're going to have them for that year anyways. The kids that it's helping. I keep thinking of the robotics situation at Baz's school, was the robotics club was told that they're not allowed to do robotics in the garage because it's not safe. They need to do it in a proper space. The kids go, well, where do we have a proper space? And they said, yes, we're going to have a proper space in 2 years' time. In 2 years' time, all of those kids will have graduated. So they're supposed to just, put up with it. Observe the class, evaluate, put on a professional improvement plan. If they don't improve, fire at the end of the year. So you can get rid of a teacher in a year for teaching badly. Yes, it's bad to have a not good teacher. You know what's worse? Long-term sub who has no teaching background. Yeah, I mean, look, we've got teachers teaching the wrong subjects. I mean, Sebastian's had teachers who said, I'm not a science teacher, in his science class because he was subbing for teachers who were science teachers and he was in some other field. Who observes them? Who gets paid to do that? That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point, Cal. Whose job is it to observe and look for bad teachers? Is it up to parents to report that? Admin, principal, instructional coach. Admin, principal, instructional coach. And they would get that information from complaints from people about a teacher? We had a teacher, won't name names, there was a teacher I know of that was taken to task for some of the way they were teaching math and ended up having to go back to school because it turns out that he didn't have the math background he was supposed to have, and he'd been teaching math for years. So, badly. So, he didn't get fired. He got sent back to take his math exams again, or whatever it is, math training again, and then came back. I did that to a long-term sub. Observed, gone in 3 days, are replaced. To a long-term sub. Now, is a sub different than... And what was your position at the school, Elizabeth, that you could do that? Observed, gone in 3 days, and replaced. Everyone is evaluated on a regular basis. If a parent reports, they will immediately observe. Really? Is that the way it's supposed to work, or is that the way it actually works? Because there was a lot of problems with teachers in our local schools, and there's been no change. I was a parent. Happened this year. That's the way it worked for me. Really? Where are you based again, Elizabeth? Remind me. I know this. You've told me this before, but where are you based? All right, Seven. I think it depends. I think it can be pretty easy to fire a teacher for being bad if they're obviously bad, like teaching kids 1 + 1 = 17, or that a cow is a plant, or they barely even teach the kids. Then yeah, the teacher. Seattle. Okay, well, so we're talking about two different systems, but you know, the sense I get is that we have a strong union with very high quality teachers. So I have no sense of how the sense I get is the union's quite strong here. I don't know from a teaching standpoint in general how good the teachers are. That's interesting. It'd be fun to get I should do like a impromptu questionnaire to the to the parents in our neighborhood and get a general sense of teachers, like how many teachers are good, how many teachers are bad. And obviously it's not as easy as that. I think part of the other problem as well is that I imagine that some teachers work for some kids and some teachers work for others. So I'm not, you know, this is my opinion. This is not a dogma that I don't want to sound like I'm just being dogmatic. But I, from what I am seeing and from what this is just my experience dealing with like kids at a community center, kids at the school I went to. I struggled with more with the teachers and the parents than I did with the kids on this stuff. The second I get tenure, I'll be teaching my students all sorts of alternative facts. Good man, James R. Gurney. That's the way to go. Elizabeth loves the teachers here. Good, great. Well, then you got a good group of teachers. I have yet to have Baz at a public school or a private school, any school, where we've liked all the teachers, where we felt that all the teachers were doing a good job. And maybe we're particularly, I don't know, maybe we're particularly picky or something, but we've had a lot of problems both in Santa Monica, where apparently they're the best teachers in the world. The best teachers in LA apparently are in Santa Monica, and not LA, in that portion of California. Apparently Santa Monica has amazing public schools. We were shocked, absolutely shocked. They were lovely. There's some lovely people there teaching, but the system was terrible. David, next time you have a problem, let me know. I will tell you exactly what you need to say to get what you need from the school. Okay, great. I mean, that would be great. I'll tell you about a problem right now. Well, not right now because I won't do it in public, but I'll email and ask because we've got a situation right now, like I say, where my son's got 2 of his favorite subjects and he is struggling to find the energy to fight both his teacher and get through the classes because it's just and he's not the only one. This is a class-wide problem. So incredibly low class averages and tests having to be retaken because nobody passed and there were mistakes on what was being sent out. It's just been a disaster. Seattle actually isn't the capital. It's Olympia. Easy mistake to make. That's true. I've fallen for that one too. Who'd have thought it? It's like Toronto. You'd think Toronto was the center of Canada, but it turns out it's Ottawa. At least if you ask people from Toronto. Did you have any teachers that you thought were hot? I had a huge crush on my senior kindergarten teacher, if I remember correctly. All right. Well, thank you, Elizabeth, as always, for being a a dissenting voice in the chat. It's good to know, and I will, as I say, I'll run some things. I'll run some things by you then about how to approach this, because this teacher doesn't sound like a bad person. They just sound like a terrible teacher. Is really the way it seems to be going. All right, I'm out of here. Worst case Ontario trailer park boys. What? You need to sell your car. What? Got cat pee put in a ventilator. What the hell? Oh my God. Yeah, you would not want that. I had worse experience with teachers. Glad I'm in my 30s, says Rebecca. I'd love to know. Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm going to do a poll at some point and find out, once someone teaches me how to do a poll. I will do a poll and find out how many people, like a rough idea of percentage of good to bad teachers that people have had over the years. That would be interesting to have, you know. Empire Angel, very good. Thank you very much. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm going to leave you now because it's been an hour. I started ranting. Damn it. Elizabeth, you got me going again. I'm going to take off. It is Friday night. I got some pizza to order with my son. I got a shower to take because I'm all sweaty and gross like the giant pudgy pancake, Stargate pancake that I am. I will say, be safe, be kind, be brilliant. And until we geek again, cheerio and huzzah!